Welcome to St. Peter's Square in Rome. If there is a geographical spot where the house of God would be, it would be here in St. Peter's, with all of its splendor and its marble and its statues and its paintings and its altars. There was a church of St. Peter's that was here for 1,000 years, built over a Roman cemetery from the 1st century AD on what is the Vatican Hill. And as you are looking at the Cathedral of St. Peter's behind me, deep down below it, 4 levels below its floor, is that cemetery that still today is accessible only to very few. In 1503, Julius II ordered this all torn down and something new built. There was an effort on the part of those that felt like a grander temple than the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem that Solomon had built in 1,000 years before Christ. They felt like this was going to be grander than that, and they achieved that goal. And 150 years later, around the 1650s, the last part of it by the architect Bernini was completed, what's called the Square of St. Peter's, with its gigantic arms and over 100 statues that line it, great cloud of witnesses that have gone before. The inside of the cathedral is massive, 2.5 football fields in length and 1.5 football fields in width. It is the longest cathedral in the world. There are literally bars down the central nave of the cathedral when you go inside that show where each cathedral in the world, where it reaches. St. Peter's keeps going and going and going. It contains the grandiose works of the greatest talents and geniuses of the late Renaissance and the Baroque period, from 1503 all the way to 1650. Michelangelo was in charge of the works of St. Peter's for over 20 years of his life until he died in 1564. And then many others succeeded him. Many popes picked up the baton and carried it further. And finally, the facade, the last parts, and the square that we are in was finished in that period. Grandiose house of God, indeed. Truly, if there was meant to be a house of God on earth, it would be here. But we remember the words of Jesus to the woman at the well, as he talks about, as she is worried about where is she going to go since she can't go to Jerusalem and she is a Samaritan. And he stresses to her that there's going to be a time when you don't have to go to it, that God will be where 2 or more meet. But the question is still remains, where does God meet? Where does God live? Where are we going to meet God? St. Peter's Square is where some come to meet him, a major focal point for 1.6 billion people that claim themselves to be followers of the Catholic faith.